Youth pastors, how do we get more people to show up to our events? How do we grow the size of our youth groups? How do we attract and retain teenagers? See, all these questions are common questions. They're things that we're all facing, at least at some level. And regardless of if you think that the attendance debate matters or not, we talked about it in our very last video linked up here in our playlist, in our Youth Ministry 2024 Masterclass that we are going through completely free, all here online on YouTube. We'd love to have you subscribe, check it out, and make sure you don't miss another one. But we talked about the church attendance conundrum because 54% of American Christians are not attending church, according to Pew Research, at least one time per month. And so in this episode, I want to talk to you about 3 key shifts that are going to help us reach the next generation as we explore this question: are we in the event-making business or are we in the disciple-making business? And I also have the ultimate tool that I believe can help you become more accessible in resourcing both your people and your students in this newfound digital age. Like I said, we'd love to have you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review. All of those things help us get found and to make sure that you can get the very next episode as soon as it drops, episode 80 in our 2024 Youth Ministry Masterclass. Welcome to the Hybrid Ministry Show. Well, hey everyone, my name is Nick Clayson. I am a youth pastor in DFW, Dallas, Fort Worth. Been in youth ministry now, being January of 2024, marks my 13th year in youth ministry. And I most recently went to a conference with the Gen Z guru himself, Terry PARKMAN. If you don't know Terry, he's amazing, but he talked about some of these shifts. So I just want to kind of elaborate on them and kick some of them around a little bit more. But he talked about the difference that Generation Z and now subsequently Generation Alpha, who, if you didn't see in our last episode, we classified them being born somewhere between 2010 and 2018, probably more in the 2012 range, which is what Pew Research kind of settles on as the origin date of Generation Alpha. Nonetheless, Terry PARKMAN, specifically talking about Gen Z, talks about the shift in thinking from Gen Z, who thinks more in a digital age, digital mindset, versus all of us, millennials and older, Gen X, boomers, and so on and so forth, who were more raised in a industrial aged way of thinking, an industrial age way, frankly, of living. And so what the first shift that is important that he talks about is we need to shift from an industrial minded way of production, which is a industrial value, to one of access. And the way that we talk about it is just simply build access points onto your ministry. So an industrial way of thinking and the production kind of value, production kind of mindset, think about seeker style churches back in the early 90s or early 2000s, where you may open with a secular song, one that's familiar, one that's relatable. You may try to go for relevant lighting. You may really try to put the entire kind of screws down on the production, the value of how important production is, and that a really well produced thing will draw out consumers. It's almost like the mentality if we build it, they will come. It also comes down to simply how much can we produce, the amount of production value that we can add. The more production value that we can add, the better, the greater, the higher the number, the more that we can produce, the more that we can attract. That's an industrial way of thinking. Meanwhile, a digital way of thinking, they don't necessarily, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and the generations that are coming on behind, they don't necessarily want those things. They're looking more for access. They're wondering, do I fit here? Can I gain access to this place? And how can I let my gifts be utilized and flourish and shine here? Honestly, one of my number one pet peeves in churches is when we, from a volunteer aspect, say things like, we need you to do our job. That is not enticing in any way, shape, or form, and it's especially not enticing to the next generation. What I think they otherwise might more importantly, more interestingly want to hear is, hey, we want you to shine here. And how can we partner with you to make a difference in this world? It goes from us-centric to them-centric. And I get it. I'm hearing you scream on the other side, but that's not what a disciple of Jesus does. Correct. However, how are we ever going to be relevant and make any sort of inroads with the next generation if the way in which we posture ourselves is fundamentally and vehemently different than them? Are we asking them to acquiesce to us as opposed to us finding ways that it's not that big of a deal to make a subtle shift, because in the same way, we can still ask Gen Z and Gen Alpha to serve. We are just making it them-centric instead of us-centric. And again, you might be screaming that they shouldn't be them-centric, but isn't it just as unbiblical and unchristlike for us to be us-centric, organization-centric, pastor-centric? In the land of access points, our church right now, honestly, probably right now as I'm recording this on a random night in December, we have these things, these events, and they're amazing, and they get talked about, and they get promoted, and they're all over social. And someone asked me, how do I sign up for it? And you know what I said? I work there at the church. I don't actually have anything to do with it, and I'm not there right now. I said, I have no idea. Like, we have these events. There's sort of this lore about them, but how to actually like access it, it's confusing. And I frankly haven't tried, so like that's probably on me. But the point of it is your church accessible? How easy to navigate is your website? Like, I love what Brady Shear and all of them at Pro Church Tools up in Canada say all the time. They say, make your website be a one-stop shop. Don't, for one thing, go sign up via the bulletin. For the other thing, send an email. For the third thing, head to the website. And for the fourth thing, find someone in the lobby. Like, you never know what to do, where to go. And so only the most loyal and only the person with the most headstrong sort of stubbornness is going to ever actually find anything out. Anybody else who comes upon any sort of like roadblock or opposition, all of a sudden it's just really easy for them to crumble. And here's the fact. I don't believe I have all the answers, but one of the ways in which we're trying to create more access points in our ministry is through our digital strategy, which I have completely laid out in my 100% completely free ebook, free for you. Grab the link, go download it. All I need is your name. All I need is your email, and that's it. It's yours to use. It's my strategy that I've used to grow a YouTube channel in a year from 0 subscribers all the way up to almost 400 subscribers. It might be even past 400 by the time that this video actually drops. It's completely laid out. It's basically my social media masterclass. And guess what? I gave it, and I'm giving it to you for free. And I would love to encourage you to just grab it, try it, implement it, and check it all out. Shift number 2 is we need to shift from performance-based, an industrial way of thinking, to more engagement-based. So if you think about an industrial way of thinking where performance is king, think about the best, the prettiest, the nicest, the smiliest people on stage with a good swath of diversity and all those things. Or just like even in youth ministry, right? We've all sort of had the like basis of like, let's just have some fun. And if the kids have fun, then they'll definitely want to come back. If we perform really well for them and we don't screw up, then they'll be like, man, that place was so good. I just want to come back. That's an industrial way of thinking. And here's the problem. If you are a youth pastor and you're my age or you're a millennial, that's the way that you think, because that's the way, and that's the age in which you were raised in, to think that that's what is valued. But the next generation that's more in a digital age, they're not worried about performance. They want to know, like, am I able to engage with this, right? When it's all about performance, think about like a conveyor belt in like a factory. Like the way that goes is, if there's a certain part in the conveyor belt that's causing a backup, what do? We just stick another person in there. We don't care what that person does, who that person is, what that person can do for us or our organization. We just want to know, can that person keep the conveyor belt from stopping? Can that person keep the performance going? But a digital way of thinking, a digital shift, when you go from performance to more engagement-based thinking, is you're wondering, hey, how can we create good content that students want to engage with? Which is why I link right down below or right up here on the screen, whichever one. I'm not sure if I've used my card yet or not in this video, but every youth ministry needs a good digital presence. It's my full YouTube strategy. It's my full social media strategy. It's the one that's tied to my ebook. It's the video explaining the ebook. If you want to go check that out. Again, I don't have all the answers. It's just my way to sort of attempt to try and engage more with our students who are different, who are digital thinkers, who are Gen Z, and coming quick behind them, Generation Alpha. The third shift is we need to switch from a value of quantity to a value of community. An industrial way of thinking, we are entirely built in most churches for quantity. Think about it. If you have a church with auditorium style seating, the goal of that room is to get the most amount of quantity of people in to listen to one captivating speaker wax eloquent for a week. And listen, honestly, no shade thrown. Most pastors, you're really good at your job. You're good at crafting sermons and you're good at delivering sermons. But the fact of the matter is, while you may be awesome at it, that's just not what's as highly valued in our world, especially in the world of digital with audio podcasts, YouTube podcasts people can listen to, audio books, sermons. They can listen to the best preachers in the entire world. Again, no offense to you. At the drop of a hat, instantly binging them, never actually running out of content. That's how accessible all of this stuff is. And so when people come to church, they don't want to just be another number kind of filtered into the auditorium to look at the back of someone's seat. That's why I believe, linked down below in the show notes, in this episode, we talked about why churches are dying. I think churches are not adapting to the new issues and the new way of thinking that this next generation is so adamant about. And again, that generation, this next generation, this digital wave generation, they're not looking for a room to come and consume some more content. They're looking for community. And so if our rooms are built for quantity, they're not then built, at least optimally, for community. I mean, I know I worked at a church one time that we had long wooden pews and they were bolted to the ground. We couldn't do anything about those things. And even if they weren't bolted to the ground, they were heavy as sin, man. I could not lift one of those things because once we finally did try to lift them, I was like, dang, who got these in here? It's like a 5-man job. Like, the goal was get these things in here, never to be moved again. This room is for one purpose and one purpose only. And the purpose that most younger people are looking for is not that. A dangerous way, I believe, of thinking is that we often value a Christian culture more than the Christ of the culture. And so therefore, I believe that what we're trying to do is we're trying to force people into a way of thinking. And when community trumps performance, we actually get a messy, authentic, real interaction with other believers who love Jesus and are trying to pursue and follow him. And so in a digital way of thinking, I think people who value community are looking for asking questions like, where do I belong? And are these people at my church, are they my people? The students, they're asking those questions, and they may, like we said in our last video, in this masterclass in video 2, this is not video 3, they may be asking, are these people my people? And they may be coming to your youth ministry, and just because they're there doesn't necessarily mean that they're engaging in religious practice, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that they're there because they want to be, because almost 50% of, 65% of students come to church with at least one parent. That's why they're coming to church. They're not coming to church because they love God. They're not coming to church because they love you. They're not coming to church because they love your youth ministry. They're coming to church because they're coming to church with their parents. But if they can find a real captivating community that they can't say no to, they're not going anywhere. So it's not about what you produce. It's about the community that's available to them. We live now with the very first global generation. Students spend on average shockingly 5 to 8 hours on their phone screens per day. The church world was built for consumers. And what's happening now is in that generation, what's being internalized, they want to find a place to externalize it. And so one of the ideas that I have, again, I don't have all the answers. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. We did it in our space. It seemed to work well. It's a hybrid event. It's called the World's Greatest Donut, completely free event guide right here. You can click it. And it's just an opportunity to engage with students beyond your program times. Because I think a lot of times what we try to do is we try to get as many people, as much quantity into a room and call that success. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to expand the relationship beyond just the one time per week. And that's what this event is all built on. It's a one-time event for an in-person event. However, it lives on for an entire month, not only live in the room, but it also lives live on your social media. That's the in-person versus the digital, creating a hybrid moment together. Hey, the ultimate tool that I teased at the beginning of this video is, and I've already said it, it's my ebook. It's my full digital strategy. The fact is, I don't have it all together, but the way in which you can utilize that is you have to become a master of your time, which is the video that's linked right here on the screen. It was a couple of videos ago, and the next video in this playlist is how to implement a good social media strategy where you're not simply just posting announcements. Click either one of those, and we would love to see you on the other side. And as always, my friends, stay hybrid.